Guys, I wanted to go over a hand that I did at the Micro Stakes Online. It was a hand I played that is, I believe, pretty standard for online play, even live. But I think a lot of people misplay it. We'll start the hand. I have pocket fours, um, under the gun plus two, which or the hijack, and the player to my right under the gun, he raises to 4x, which is actually unstandard even for this table. He's an obvious laggy fish. I don't make too many notes. I do make a lot of notes here on playing online. He in particular is super wide. I mean, he has played 100% of the hands pre-flop at these stakes, and he has given tons of action to everyone at the table. But when I sat down, he had like 80 chips, $80, which is 800 big blinds at this level. So I'm I usually don't do this, but I am playing at this table because he's here. I almost never do this, but he is this good for the game. And pocket fours is a very standard call against a player like this. And then we have another short stack. Flop is pretty dry here, and he bets very small. He bets 40 into 125, which is one third. But what you have to understand about the meta at this stakes is that betting one third on a wet flop, I mean on a dry flop, is very meta right now. The reason why is 30% denies equity to a lot of the back over pairs, since over pairs need around 30%. They actually need less at it depends on the board, but so it's good to like deny the equity for the overpair. So he can be betting here for sure with an ace. But I go ahead and make the call even though I have a player behind, and I assume that she's going to be jamming with any ace here. So I also want to go over something in Flopzilla. So this is the um, range that I put for him. I put an 80% range, which is actually it's almost unrealistic because playing 80% of hands is like absolutely ridiculous, and it's just gonna leak you money. And he was actually playing 100%. Like I counted, he played around 30 hands in a row before folding pre-flop, and the only reason he folded pre-flop was because there was some action. But to put giving someone a 100% range is actually kind of unsound because I don't really think people are actually playing seven deuce and six deuce in those hands unless they're suited. I'm seven deuce off, six deuce off, two three off. They might be playing two three off because they view it as sort of a um, uh, connector, but giving 100% range is kind of like unrealistic. So I plugged in my hand here, and as you see, against the 80% range, Pocket Fours has 53% equity, which is good. It still doesn't warrant a raise because first of all, we were under the gun plus. Let's say of that 80% range, he is still betting with about 80% of that 80%. That definitely warrants a call. So let's put in 80% times 80%. I'll bring up the calculator just to like show you like the math. Now the thing about um this type of 64. So the thing about like this type of equations and this type of hand is that you don't have to actually make these types of calculations in your head. You have to do the you should be doing the math kind of off the felt, and then you come to this hand and you know the math here, so you know you should continue with this hand because you know that pocket fours against this range, even though the flop is ace five nine. Let's put this in. it's going to be a little bit differently. My trial expired here, so I can't show you the full equity, which I'll do later. So I elected to call, and the Queen of Clubs comes out, and he bets 70 into 200, which again, let's do that. Oh, I'm sorry. So he bet 30 again, another very small bet into pot. Let's go over the hand. So the hands that he would bet turn with is probably an ace or a nine. He might even bet with a five. The three is like the ultimate blank. So he's continuing with he's checking that back, which it's a clear check back on the turn, and he's betting when the Queen of Clubs comes. And you could clearly bet with the Queen of Clubs, but you have to realize that there are so many hands in his range that remember he's playing at this point probably so he's probably playing about 60% of his 80% range, which let's do the math again. So he is playing about 50% of his range. And yes, like that range has all the queens, the nines, the aces, the fours, but it also has the threes, pocket twos, and all the air. I'm talking every single air hand that you could almost have at all times. 6 5, 6 8, 6 10 8, 4 8, 6 8. I mean, it's all these hands down here. Like he has all. Let's put this down 50%. Let's put this down to a 50% range. I mean, he still has 8 6 7 8 4 8 6 4 5 4 5. All the these two pocket pairs, all the hands that miss that aren't aces, all these hands in here. So if you compare what I have 50% equity. You should actually make the call here. This this is a call, and I think most of the players that play, especially live, they get pocket fours. They see a maniac. Maybe if it's your first hand of the day, you don't know that this maniac's that big of a maniac, but you see this board, and well, knowing that he is a maniac, he will bet anything. Seeing that this board is super dry, no straights hit, no flushes hit. Well, two fours is straight, but you have the four blockers, so there's only one combination of two fours. So this is clearly a call. You can't just fold here. And he shows up with king 10 and I scoop the pot. So you have to understand that sometimes people just look at a pocket pair, don't hit their set. It's the pocket pair is not over the board, which in pocket fours it's impossible for the almost impossible. It's very unlikely for pocket fours not to hit the board, not to be an overpair to the board. The flop has to come 2 3 3, 3 3 2, something like that. That's actually a scary board for pocket fours. You don't hit your set. There's no flush. You don't hit a flush or a straight, and you fold to any bet because you have pocket fours. You don't think through the hand. Think through the hand. Remember that you're ahead of his range. You're playing against his range. You're not playing against his hand. So that was the hand.